to our... So we're focusing a little bit more on movement, but obviously still being aware of the breath. But we're working a little bit more on strength, on conditioning. But I will introduce another of the 5 elements, 5-element flows that we'll be doing next week in the 5-element flow Qigong challenge. We will find our comfortable space, our safe space around us. So just make sure that you've got plenty of room to the side, front and back, so that you're not knocking anything over or anybody over. If you join the class on Tuesday, we'll do some of the stretches and the mobilizations that we did on Tuesday. Then we're going to do some balance work. So these classes are called Breathe, Balance and Move. So we'll look at some balance work and then a little bit more strength work as well. Let's start off with the first movement that we did on Tuesday. You're taking your feet about shoulder width apart, little bit of bend in the knees just so that we're not locking the knees out. Palms come up, arms come up, crossing the hands, and then a little bit of a wave side to side, and then back down. And again, and then the other arm comes in front, crossing, pressing. You can put a little bit of press there on the palms, and side to side. The idea is at first that we mobilize the body, a little bit of stretching, back down. And quite often the idea of stretching is we often stretch too much, or we stretch. Why are we stretching? So we're not stretching to push or force our body into any particular position. We're just opening up and lengthening and elongating. Think of it like that rather than pulling or forcing anything. And that's what's great about the breath, because if we work with the breath, then we're never going to overreach with anything. So breathing in, keep just breathing in a little bit more. Breathe into the sides, breathe out. And with these, you're going at your own pace as well. So you may be following me, but go at your own pace as well. So if you start to get a little bit out of breath, then just bring the arms down and then breathe out. So you're breathing in and breathing out. Let's do 2 more. In all of these movements that we're doing today, unless we are deliberately holding the breath, then we never hold the breath. And take a rest there. Just take a moment just to bring your feet about hip width apart. A little bit of balance. So when we think of balance, we often think of really challenging balance exercises, but the first place where we want to focus on our balance is just in a standing posture. So with our awareness, with our feet in connection to the ground, feel a little bit of a weight shift towards the heels. So just a little bit more weight towards the heels. This is quite logical because the heel is a strong bone. So when you're standing, you want a little bit more weight shift towards the heels. You want to be able to wiggle the toes a little bit there. And quite often when we shift the weight back towards the heels, it feels a bit odd because we're going to feel as if we're falling backwards. So bring the hips and hinge, maybe hinge forward. So you're balancing your rib cage over your hips. And then give the head a little bit of a nod and balance the head. Sit it on top of the spine. Sit that on top of the rib cage, so the head is balanced on top of the rib cage and that's balanced on top of the hips. So quite often we hang out in this position. I'm exaggerating a position now. It's those hips swing forwards, which puts a lot of pressure on the lower back. So if you bring the hips back, balance the pelvis over the heels, Bring the chest, the rib cage on top of the pelvis, balance the head on top of the chest. And the idea is that we're not becoming rigid. So quite often when we think of posture or stand up straight is we do this sort of like military posture and we hold as much tightness and tension to hold that fixed posture. That often happens as well when we're sitting. So, oh, I've got to sit right. So we're holding this fixed posture when we're sitting, which is not good. So we don't want to be holding any fixed posture or over tensing the body. And this we'll talk about a little bit more next week when we do the 5-day Chi challenge, because some of the postures that we hold in these elemental practices are really challenging. So we'll do some holding postures where you're standing. But just to start off with this first standing posture, just balance. So a really simple way of thinking. Pelvis is balanced over the heels. Rib cage is balanced over the pelvis. Head is balanced on top of the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and down. Step out now. So step out to our standard shoulder width. Now we have that little bit of bend in the knees again. The reason why we bend the knees is because we're going to start to do the rotation. And when we're rotating, if we have a straight knee, then you end up locking your knee out. So we want to work on fluidity of joints, fluidity of movement. And this is a great exercise any time of day if you're feeling a little bit tight, if you've been sitting a long time, if you've been driving, if you've been walking, if you've been running. We're just rotating the spine. So we're working the spine in a rotational direction. Strong through the feet connected to the ground. And you're lifted and lengthened through the spine. The head is just following, so you're not specifically looking in any direction, but your head is just following the rotation. Breath is just natural, in and out through the nose. You're tapping the back of the hand on the back of the body. And the front arm is just swinging across. Slowing it down, gradually slowing it down now into a Qigong move called water waves. So imagine that you're just running your hands through water. Work on that idea of the spiral as well. So the wrists rotate, the elbows rotate, the shoulders rotate. Focus on the space behind as well. Quite often we have an awareness of everything in front of us. We can see ourselves in the mirror. We can look down and see the front of the body. Just bring awareness to what is behind you, the space behind the body as well. And the more you slow it down, the more you can feel the air running through the fingers, maybe over the skin. When we're practicing Qigong, we'll talk about energy. Qi means energy. And you'll often say, oh, what is energy? But if you just slow this down, you can feel the energy around you because there is air around you, there is atmosphere around you, there is sound around you. All of this is energy. There is light around you. And slow it down. We've worked the spine rotationally. Let's extend and flex the spine, do our spinal cord breathing. We bend the knees a little bit more in this. I'll just show you from the side. So we can start to tilt the pelvis forwards and backwards. We're spilling out the front of the pelvis here, and then we're tucking the tailbone under, spilling out of the back of the pelvis. And as we're doing that, we're using the upper body as well. So I'm lifting my heart up to the sky, lifting the sternum, and then I'm squeezing my glutes so we get that extension, looking up, and flexion. So we're moving each of the vertebrae in the spine, extending and flexing. If you're practicing yoga, then you often do this on the floor, and that's called a cat-cow as you're doing it on the floor. We're just doing it standing up and visualizing breathing with the spinal cord. So you can start to bring the breath with the movement. So you're breathing in, letting all that oxygen, air, and energy flow into the body. Then you're breathing out, just squeezing out, clearing. Every breath in you take, you're energizing the body. Every breath out, you're just clearing. And just easy in and out through the nose. Keeping the knees bent so we get that work through the pelvis, through the spine, all the way up the spine. Let's do a couple more. Notice that I'm not giving you a count or asking you to, oh, let's do 10 of these or anything like that. And that's because, one, I don't want us just to think of it as a rep. And two, some mornings you might need a little bit more of this. Another morning you might need a little bit more rotation. So it really is you taking control, listening to your body, finding out what your body feels it needs, what you want, what you need to actually mobilize the body. So yeah, I'm not saying counting reps is wrong or anything like that. But if we're counting reps, we're thinking, oh, I need to get to the end. Well, I want you to focus on what's going on within the movement. So what you're feeling within the movement rather than counting. Let's move down to the hips now. So we'll keep our feet shoulder width apart, a little bit of bend in the knees. We're going to do some hip circles. So if I'm mirroring you and bringing my right hip forwards, we like doing a figure of 8. Right hip forwards, side, back, nice big circle behind you. Left hip side, left hip forwards, and then you get that little figure of 8 going on there. See if we can work the hips and keep the rest of the body as still, as stable as possible. Yeah, you can put your hand on the hips if that helps. Nice and slow. None of these movements are forced. Go within your own comfortable range of motion. And again, if you breathe easy, you're not going to be overdoing it. If you suddenly find yourself holding the breath or you're catching the breath, then you are most probably pushing a little bit too much. Nice big hip circles. And you can start to go a little bit bigger if that feels good. Push forwards a little bit more if that feels good. Back, forwards. We've got a little bit of bend in the knees on this one. Let's go in the other direction. Everybody's looking really good on Zoom there. A lot of hula hooping going on. Looks excellent. So we're going in the change direction. Big circles. And then come to standing. Slow it down and come to standing. If this works for you, this is quite a nice one to do with the hips as well. So you can get the thumbs into each side of the spine on the lower back there. And as you are circling forwards, you can just press in a little bit in the thumbs there. So you're each side of the spine. Find sort of like the space. And then you can come back and you can move your hands just along. Again, watch the breath on this one. So if you start going, that really hurts, then don't push it. But it's just quite nice just to ease up if you've got any tightness or tension in the lower back. So you're just moving the thumbs, and you might find that little sweet spot that you just need a little bit more of. Particularly, it's quite good when you're right down here in the sacrum. Often get stuck here in that lower back area. So if that works for you, that's quite nice to add into that hip circle, and you can then really bring the hips forwards as well as you're pushing forward. So just have a little go at that. If that feels uncomfortable, just go back to the standard hip circles. Hips often get very, very tight because we're sitting a lot, even standing a lot. Just change directions if you haven't changed directions. And then take a rest. Give yourself a bit of a shake. So let's start with the feet on the ground, using the legs. If it's comfortable, you can tap your heels into the ground. Use the legs as pumps, shake out the arms. If you want to make a sound, make a sound. If the neighbours can't hear you, or if they can, it doesn't matter. So shaking out, shake out the hands. Let the shoulders go. Shaking again is a really good way of releasing any tension, tightness. If you watch animals in the wild, they'll go into a fight situation or a flight situation, and the first thing they do when they come out of fight or flight is to shake it all off. If you watch athletes before Usain Bolt, before he does a run, he's not going, oh my God, I've got to run. He's shaking his body out. So it's just releasing any tightness and tension. And then slow it down, come to standing. Hip width apart. Just take a moment now. Maybe just open up the palms facing forwards. Feel now any tingling sensations through the body. Got the blood flowing, energy moving, lymphatic drainage. A little bit more work on the hips, but adding some balance into it now. If you need a chair, if you've got one handy, you can use a chair. So say if you've got a chair just to rest on. But if you're comfortable, you can imagine you've got a chair, or you can imagine you putting your hand on a tiger's head. So I'll mirror you. Left hand is balancing you. Stabilize on that left leg. Just make sure you've got nothing behind you, and swing the right leg. So just free up this right hip. Heel goes back. And the trick is to keep tall, so keep lifting through the spine and really strong down this left side of the body. Balancing. Focus is strength here, mobilization here on that swing leg. And not to fall over. If you fall over safely. Just put your foot down, obviously. Breathing easy, freeing up this right hip. Slow it down, and then change. So take a moment to balance. Take a moment to evenly balance one side or the other. Stabilize now down the right side, so you're nice and strong and stable down this right side. Tall through the spine. Use that hand just to support, so you've got a chair or whatever, or just literally imagine you've got something that you're resting on there. Shift the weight, fill that right leg, and then swing. Whoa, swing the left leg. Keep this leg pretty straight and just really free up this hip here. It's almost like you've got a string pulling the heel back and then it's just naturally swinging forwards. If you start scraping the floor, you really need to work on this support hip. So you need to lift and lengthen. Keep tall. It's quite nice actually. Use that idea of just lifting yourself up. Bring that other hand up. Lift yourself up from the crown. Look as if we're doing country dancing. But it helps, it lifts up this side of the body. Swinging that left leg, opening up this hip, breathing easy. And then come to rest. Shake out your legs. Next leg swing. So stabilize on this left side of the body and then swing, drop. Stabilize on the right side, swing across, drop. Swing, drop. Swing, drop. Breathing easy. If you swing too hard, you throw yourself off balance. If you don't swing enough, you don't get that across. Again, it's really nice to think of lifting tall. Nice and tall. This, if I do one leg swing, this is a great one to do, particularly if you're going out running, walking. Just really helps to free up the hips. Swing. Fall over. If you fall over, that's fine as long as you don't fall over and hurt yourself. Let's do a couple more. And then shake out. And just stand for a moment again. Feel the balance, feel the difference. Should have freed up those hips. The hips should feel nice. Feel any tingling sensations in the hips. Really, really good to feel that sensation in the hips as well. Let's step a little wider now. So just a very subtle, wider difference to the shoulder width apart. Again, working on balance, and I will mirror you. We're going to shift our weight to the left side. So shift up to the hips to the left side. And then bring that right heel off the floor. So I've still got the ball of my right foot connected to the ground, but just lightly connected to the ground there. And then when I've got this left leg loaded, I'm going to lift up that right knee and right elbow and put my left hand on that tiger's head again. So I'm balanced on that one leg. If you just come up to here, that's fine. Or even if you stay here, that's fine. Nobody holding the breath, so breathing in this position. And then I'm going to really slowly, gingerly, I'm tiptoeing, pop the ball of the foot down again. So I'm just lightly touching the ground. And then I'm going to roll down to the heel. And then I'm going to shift all of the weight to this right leg. So this leg is loaded, stable, strong. I'm then connecting the ball of the foot. So get that ball of the foot on the left leg onto the ground, loading this right leg, and then I'm going to lift, straighten the, as he falls over, straighten the right leg, stand tall. And then I'm going to bend that right leg. I'm going to step out, reach out. Just imagine you're putting your foot in water. Is it warm? Is it cold? Ball of the foot. Roll ball of the foot to heel. A little bit deeper in the leg there. And then straighten this leg as you come up. Again, that idea of lifting tall through the spine really helps here. So when we're doing balance stuff or one-legged stuff or hip stuff, don't just think of the hips and the lower body. Think of the upper body helping. The upper body is nice and light and lifted. And this is most probably the most challenging point when you come in slow. It's easy just to go, oh, I'm just going to step down. Don't do that. It's come really slow. Reach. Ball of the foot. Heel, toe to heel. Toe to heel. And now let's see if we can do this in a really slow motion control movement. If you can go a little bit deeper and then stand tall, straighten that support leg a little bit deeper. If you can get deeper and then stand tall and straighten the support leg. Ball to heel. Can you get a little bit deeper? Again, focus on the breath. Make sure you're not holding the breath. Step. Come up. Stand tall. Lift tall. Good. Zoomers are looking fantastic. Can we get a little bit deeper? Stand tall. Let's do one more each side. Slow as you can. Slow, 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 slow. Stand tall. Excellent. And then step out and come to standing. So there's two ways of intensifying an exercise. One is to speed it up and the other one is to slow it down. So if we were just doing this, it's pretty easy, but you notice that difference when we go into doing it really slow. And slow doesn't mean that's quick and then slow. So that is slow as you're coming down and stepping up. A little bit of shake out. We'll finish with one of the Qigong movements that we'll be looking at next week, probably towards the end of next week, is the earth element. So it's a really good way after everything we've just done this morning just to really ground ourselves. So earth element is about centering the body, is about grounding ourselves, is about bringing focus and energy to the mind so that we're not all over the place. And it's a really simple movement, but a really nice movement. So you bring your feet into that standard shoulder width apart, a little bit of bend in the knees. It's called Pebble in the Pond. So imagine that you're a pebble and you're dropped into a pond of water, dropped into a pond, and you just get a ripple effect. So the ripple effect is the palms going out and then coming back around into the center. So you almost get that little bit of a weight shift forwards towards the toes, and then the weight shifts back towards the heels. Really simple. So it's palms out and down towards the ground, shift back, palms coming towards your center here. So it's almost like you're bringing energy back to this lower abdomen area, this lower, what is called the lower dantian, or the physical energy center in Qigong. And if we go with the breath, you're breathing out, just through the nose. breathing in, breathing out. Stand a little bit taller as you breathe in, breathing out. Couple more, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the upper back. And then just bringing the hands across the belly, bringing the feet together. Just standing for a moment with that idea of balance in mind again, that the pelvis is over the heels, the rib cage is over the pelvis, and the head is just lightly balanced on the spine. Breath is easy in and out through the nose. Excellent. Step out. Give yourself a little bit of a rub down. Give yourself a bit of a congratulations for doing a nice mobilization. It's not too hard. It's not too forceful. Nothing should be forced. It's just a really good way of easing yourself into the day. But there's a lot going on there. You've done a lot of strength movement in the legs. So I hope that has worked well for you this morning. I hope it's prepared you for the day. So next week we will be starting the 5-day Chi challenge. So we'll be starting on, oh, the camera's gone blurred again. This camera's doing weird things. Let's go back to the, oh, there we go. We're starting the 5-day Chi challenge. So we'll be starting at 8 o'clock on Monday. So somebody please remind me that I'm doing a session on Monday morning. We'll be starting at 8 o'clock. We're doing 20 minutes each day. So it'll be 8 till 8:20. We will not be doing these live on Facebook. They are only on Zoom, so you need to register. I'll put the link below here if you're watching on Facebook and you want to register. There are only a few places left actually because it's done really well, this Chi Challenge. So register if you want to watch these 5 classes. If you're just watching on Facebook next week, on Tuesday and Thursday, I'll just run a classic class. So you can still do one of the classic classes. We'll just run a class from last year as I did over Christmas. So you will still get a class on Tuesday and Thursday if you are watching on Facebook. So I look forward to seeing you all on next week for the Chi Challenge. In the meantime, have a fabulous weekend and thanks very much for joining me today. Have a great time. Take care. Thanks all. Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye.